Hey, welcome back to the Chainsaw Canuck. So here we got the shindaiwa 377 again. I wasn't going to start this project till later, but I'm like, what the hell, this will be a relatively easy project, and this will be a project that's going to be kind of going on all this week. We're going camping here next weekend. So originally I saw this song hoping I could return it to its original splendor without breaking the bank, but apparently all these parts are kind of unobtainium. Maybe not that bad, but here in Canada, finding these parts are not that easy. So, but what do we have here? We have a chainsaw whose cylinder is in good shape, from what I could see through the exhaust port and the intake, or the spark plug hole. But apart from that, it goes attached right to that thing. I don't have the top cover or the intake. Well, that's a tiny little guy, isn't it? That's fucking, what the hell was that? That was some kind of animal larva at one point. That's going kind of gnarly. I don't know what this. Maybe this is the pine cone? Yeah, it was just pine cone squished in there. That was some kind of like mud dabber larvae nest. Okay, so one thing I know, I need this little guy might work. Take this top handle off because it's just going to be in the way. I've never taken one of these apart. Probably never will again, apart from this one. These shindaiwas don't seem to come around easy. Occasionally I'll see one. I think I've seen a 747 on Marketplace here in Edmonton, but really they're kind of a rare bird, which is kind of funny because the Lawnmower Hospital here in town used to sell shindaiwas and echoes. Now they only sell echoes. I don't know if they make shindaiwas anymore. I don't know. But either way, parts are unobtainium, so I will not be able to find a top cover or air filter for it. I can find an air filter for it in the States, but judging by the IPL, this is a case where you need both for it to actually filter air, because it kind of looks like it comes up through the bottom, through the filter, into the cavity, and then back down here. At least that's how it looks on the IPL. If I'm wrong, please correct me, because sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about. So that guy, better. That'll make things a little easier. Have a nice, refreshing beverage from Mount Rainier in Washington. I actually don't know if that's beer. I think that's actually a BC beer, but. And I have other projects. Sometime this week, I got all those saws that Derail gave to Jim to give to me, including that homemade Lewis winch that he picked up somewhere. I'm going to go through all those because there's an XL76 in there, two XL12s, a spray painted XL1 that was originally blue, and then that Lewis winch is made out of blue XL1. I go through them all. That winch kind of makes me curious, and just looking at it, that thing's got to weigh 40-50 pounds, but just looking at the way it's built, I can easily shave 10 pounds off that, like easily, like literally I can shave 10 pounds off that in like a minute at work anyways. Okay, aren't you opening? There you go. The saw is relatively clean because that's big if the big issue with the saw is just the rings are worn out, it must have been a well-used saw, and if that's the case, then this thing's really clean because I would have seen a lot of use. That's interesting. The Carp's high jet is just the brass plug. And if I port that, that's going to change, but this looks like it's a typical Walbro WT carb or WA, and it's easily replaceable. Especially considering I keep wanting to use one of the ones from the Poolins, the Walbros from the Poolins, because they are for 42cc saws, so they should be quite adequate for this little guy. coils hanging off the cylinder, kind of like some of the later pull-ins. That's part of the. Oh, what the hell's that? Oh, that's a spacer. You need to keep that. Take that off here. Okay, let's go make sure the spacer lives. That's actually very pull-in-esque having the spacer on there. Spacer on there too, maybe. There's a spacer there. It doesn't want to come off. Might as well take it off before it falls off. If it falls off, I might lose it. And that'd be a bad day. Okay. Keep both the spacers and the coil all together. Okay, that can just live over there. So, yeah, this is a basic Walbro. What model is it? I'm really fighting the need that I need reading glasses, but I'm going to keep fighting that for a little bit longer. It's a WT. Okay, so we're going to pull that bad boy off there too. What the hell is that? That's the idle adjustment fell out. Okay, that's different. Usually those don't just fall out. And because this is a WT, it's going to be very, very easy to adapt some kind of different air filter setup to it. Like, there'll be no problems at all. That's kind of loose. Maybe someone's been into this thing. That one's kind of loose too. You're not supposed to reef on these screws, but I mean, that was pretty flippin' loose. But today I want to at least get to the point where I take the base gasket off and measure the squish to see if I want to do machine work or not. So, okay, there's no gas there, that's good. Okay, all that can just live over there for now. And what's next? Okay, that's like that, eh? Okay, that probably little ring probably has to come out of the boot. Das Boot. Get this partition off. So I'm taking her right apart because why not? It's gonna have to happen. It's actually a simple saw. This is kind of like, it feels to me like you're taking apart Husqvarna 51, 55 type thing, only a little easier. It's actually a very nice saw to work on so far. Okay, that's all that's holding that on. And that boot. I don't want you down there. Come back up there. I need to get this boot up though. Yeah, there's 7 screws there, so this piece has to come out. Screw out of there. Hey. And now, maybe just pry on that a little bit, just to make sure she's loose. Nice and loose. I think I'll just take the cylinder off because that'll just make this 10 times easier and be a lot easier on the boot. Das Boot. Also looks like I had a hole there for maybe a decomp at one point. Because nothing else went to that hole. That was tight. Don't know if anyone would have ever been into this. It's kind of like maybe, maybe not. The fact that the rings are so worn, I'm guessing not. So she's virgin. So because it's a virgin, she's nice and tight. And quite a bit of carbon in that exhaust port. Quite a bit of carbon. But that's okay, because this thing's getting ported and she's getting cleaned up right nice. I might have to investigate, see if we can get crank seals for this thing. It might be a case of me having to actually pull this apart. Because with Shindaiwa Echo 2, I find there's a severe lack of literature and information online in general. Why? It's coming, just... or not. What the frick? One's gonna be a dildo. Doesn't seem very tight. Maybe try a different size. Or I fuck this up. It's too big. Oh shit. I was really hoping I wouldn't have any problem ones. But that's not the case, because this is totally turning into one problem hole. Yeah, that'd be the right size. Just don't snap this bad boy off. What the hell's going on there? It's coming. That's weird. I might have to chase the threads in that hole. Don't seem right. Like I said, I don't think anyone's ever had the cylinder off before, so. Red Dog Terrence there, he said these are from the late 80s, early 90s. He says you see them down in Australia, which means they're probably a lot more common down there, because they sure as hell aren't common here. Okay. So, first off, don't lose those guys, because being that this is Japan, it's definitely going to be metric. So yeah, the cylinder, oh sorry, the piston. The bearing must be a little, might just be, there's some crap down in here from something. Maybe someone's running this thing without an air filter on. That'd be a shame, but I mean, it's, piston is clean, except for carbon, but there's not even a mark on this thing. These rings look awfully thin. In the book it says they use 1.5 millimeter. These look more like 1.2. In that case, I would not have rings for them. That's coming up at 1 millimeter. Yeah, I will not have rings for that. That's for sure. The cylinder is mint. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. This thing has like very, very low compression. But wow. Oh wow. Oh, these have though. I guess you're gonna have some ring gap there because they're like old school locating pins where they actually take up the whole diameter. I mean, if you can see that, the ring gap is probably like a 1/16 of an inch. So I need to find rings for this thing. Because the ones I have will not work. And this does need rings. Oh, it's a really... Huh. It's quite the interesting combustion chamber there. So the bore is... That's 40 millimeter, as it should be. That came off in one piece. That's kind of nice. How thick is this silly base gasket? It's this gasket is 27 thousandths of an inch. 25. 22. It's over 20,000. gonna save it though, because you never know. So there's some crap that got in here, but I mean, everything looks and feels fine in it. Bearings are tight. This thing definitely will run again, but yeah, these are the rings I had, and when I looked online, it said they were supposed to be, these are supposed to be 40 by 1.5 millimeter, which that is not the case. So I'm going to search for rings, which that's sometimes not fun. Sometimes finding thinner rings, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. If these rings went in, I mean, that'd be like, you know, a couple thou at most, but yeah, so this thing, I mean, definitely gonna be salvageable. I just need to find rings. This only had 100 psi. Rings are free, which means they're just worn the F out. But while I'm in here, I want to measure the squish, because while I'm waiting for rings, I can do a crap ton of machine work, because I got the time. Let's get a couple of these bolts back in there, eh? Watch me, it'll just hit. The combustion chamber is very flat, except for the actual, or the top of the cylinder is very flat, except for the little combustion chamber. It's so it'll be very easy to get high compression out of this bad boy, I think. And I'm gonna make this the most badass 37.7 cc saw ever, if I can find rings. It's weird that the rings are a different size, because you can buy brand new pistons for these things. I don't want to go that road. Maybe I'll have to, but I'll look tonight after I'm done doing this and see what I can find for rings. Well, it doesn't hit. That's a good sign there. I was kind of worried. Let's be optimistic and start with the how thick is this crap? 40 thou solder. Just gotta cut this end off. Being optimistic, that's under 40 thou. And apparently, yes, that was being very optimistic. That ain't even touching. Now that's a pity. Definitely gonna need machine work, which that's okay. And I'll find my thicker solder and see if that'll register. I think this stuff is what the hell is that? This is 16th of inch. 60. No, that's 62.625 inches. Let's see what this tells me. Oh, it touched. Barely. Let's try some other locations here. Wow. It's touching, but barely. So this thing, we can basically say this saw has, without the base gas, oh, it touched there more. It may have, no, it didn't. So we're going to call it 60 thousandths of an inch squish, because that's crazy. So, good news, bad news, I guess. I gotta make sure this thing will work without freeporting. So I'm going to put a Sharpie line on the bottom of the exhaust port, and hopefully it won't rub off. Just so I can see how much I can actually take off this silly thing. But it's going to be a bit. I'm actually surprised, being this is a pro saw, that there's so much squish that. I guess if you have low compression, it's still. I might not get new rings. I might actually take 40 thou off the base and see what kind. I should still find rings, but that is so much squish. Like, that's insane. I was not expecting to see that much squish on this thing. And you can see my line there. That's probably a good 100 thou to go. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna take 30 thou off this little guy. Take 30 thou off him. Huh. That's kind of. So you see this lower coil hole? That actually goes right through into the transfer. Like that's kind of weird. I've never seen that before, but first time for everything, I guess. I'm gonna get this boot off here carefully because I don't want to wreck it. Because like most Echo and Shindaiwa parts, they're probably unattainable, especially if they're obsolete. That looks okay. Please stay okay, because I said, I mean, it was hard enough when I was looking for the top cover and stuff. It's like, wow, like, no, this will never be like a collector piece. So I need to find rings. This thing was only showing 100 psi. Like, once I take 30 thou off it, I mean, plus no base gasket. Because that base gas was 20 thou plus what this thing had. Like, wow. That's insane. So tomorrow morning I go to work, I'll make a mandrel for a 40mm cylinder and machine this guy down. And I want to be very gentle with this boot because I mean, the boot seems to be in good shape, which is a big plus. Impulse goes through it, but this will just go back together with Moto Seal. It actually looks like there's some kind of, what's that called, anaerobic gasket sealer on there. Okay, this boot's actually pretty heavy duty, but it's quite pliable, so it's not worn out. Like I said, I think the saw was actually taken care of, but I mean, it's just needs some things like that squish. That's unreal. I'll bring you guys in here with the cylinder, how flat the top is, which I'll pick up on camera. But yeah, up until the combustion chamber in the center, that's like dead flat. That's an open port design. You can see that coil screw hole going through. That's kind of unreal. I've never seen that before. This might turn into a short because I've never seen that before. But yeah, take it to work tomorrow, take 40 thou off. Seems like so much, but wow. Anyways, take her easy. Bye.